Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
Welcome, folks, to another fun-filled edition of Who Wants to Retire Worry-Free? And now your host of our show, America's money missionary, Tony Walker.
Hey, welcome, folks, to Who Wants to Retire Worry-Free? I'm your host, Tony Walker, and today's contestants are Aaron, Gina, and Derek. All right, guys, today's question: what's the only financial tool that guarantees protection from loss? Aaron.
Pork belly futures.
No, sorry, Aaron, that's not correct. Gina?
Buy a bigger boat?
What? No. Okay, come on, Derek, you can do this now. Give us that right answer.
Bitcoin.
Wow. No, folks, the answer is insurance, and we're going to learn today why it is the key to a worry-free retirement.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the Worry-Free Retirement, with your host, best-selling author and fiduciary, Tony Walker.
Insurance, a 9-letter word that usually brings a slight cringe to savers who feel like they pay too much for it as it is. I guess that's because the types of insurance one might secure seem endless. There's insurance to cover your car, insurance to cover your home, insurance to cover your health, insurance to cover your life, insurance to protect your income, insurance to pay for nursing homes, and yes, even insurance to cover gadgets and gizmos that we use every day. Kind of reminds me of the old joke with an insurance agent sitting with a couple at their kitchen table talking to them about insurance. Well, apparently the husband gruffly tells the insurance agent that they don't need any insurance, that they can afford what they already have. The agent's response? Well, if you can afford what you've already got, obviously you don't have enough. Which begs the question, given the huge amounts of money we savers fork over to the insurance companies every year, sometimes in the thousands and thousands of dollars when you consider your entire life of paying for insurance, why is it that many of these same savers have little or no understanding of what to insure, for how much to insure it, and which insurance companies to trust? Well, today we're going to arm you with the information you need to first understand how the insurance world works and how you can make them work for you. Well, welcome, folks, to the Worry-Free Retirement. And yes, I am that little man in the sweater vest, safe money specialist and fiduciary, Tony Walker. And before we get started talking about insurance and why it may impact your ability to enjoy your retirement in the future, let me introduce the producer of the Worry-Free Retirement, America's favorite financial sidekick, Mr. Aaron Orander, along with his faithful sidekick, our technical director, Mr. Derek Hudson. Okay, there you sit, staring at your 401k or other monies that you depend on for a worry-free retirement when, all the while, you have blindly tossed thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars over to insurance companies, money you might have been able to put in your pocket or, better yet, pass off and give to your kids and grandkids instead of the insurance companies. But there's a problem. If you go it alone and leave the insurance companies behind, you could have a loss to your income, a loss to your property, and to your overall peace of mind. That's because of the 4 major financial institutions out there, the banks, Wall Street, the government, and insurance companies. Only insurance companies have the ability to insure your stuff, and here's the point, guarantee that if you suffer a loss, you'll be made whole. The banks can't do this, Wall Street certainly can't do it, and you can't depend on the government to come through in the clutch either. This is why I'm going to take you on a deep financial dive into the insurance company world and how and why you got to have a better understanding of how they work so that they can work for you. I'm Tony Walker. You're watching the Worry-Free Retirement. I'll be right back. Have you recently retired, been laid off, or offered a pension buyout? Has the company you work for moved, been acquired, or closed its doors forever? And finally, do you have a 401k with a previous employer you'd like to move to safer territory? Then take advantage of this opportunity to move your 401k or lump sum pension to Tony Walker Financial. Let's meet in person to discuss your retirement options. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com to schedule your free, no obligation appointment. Let us help you today. In the 17th century, London's importance as a trade center led to an increasing demand for ship and cargo insurance. Edward Lloyd's coffee shop became recognized as the place for obtaining marine insurance, and this is where the world-renowned Lloyd's of London Insurance Group began. So what the heck was going on back in the 17th century that would create this notion of old Edward Lloyd feeling compelled to create a company to ensure that the cargo being carried on these ships would safely reach its intended destination? I mean, let's face it, to set sail in a wooden boat loaded up with someone else's valuable cargo and attempt to navigate the seven seas through violent storms and pirates is pretty risky stuff. So why would Mr. Lloyd take the time and trouble to insure such risky adventures as this one? You guessed it, money. You see, insurance companies are no different today than they were back in the 17th century. Their job is to take on risks that the average person cannot afford to take on. For the owner of a ship to go down and lose his client's cargo would cost him dearly. It was a financial risk the ship owner and even the owner of the cargo could not take, but thanks to the structure of insurance companies, they now can. Here's the point, folks. Anything that can cause us great physical, emotional, or financial loss is what we know as risk. And in most cases, the best ways to cover risks that we cannot handle on our own is through insurance companies. Otherwise, we stockpile our own money and hope the big risks never occur, which they might not, or we transfer the risk over to the insurance company to cover the potential risk, which may or may not happen. That's why before ever paying a premium for any type of insurance, it's best to ask yourself this question: if I suffer a loss, can I handle the loss on my own? Yes or no? If the answer is yes, I can handle the loss, you avoid buying insurance and hope for the best. Now, if the answer is no, I cannot handle the risk on my own, you hand over some of your money to an insurance company that's called a premium in exchange for them taking on all the risk. It's really that simple. Yet in the field of finance, depending on who you talk to, there's a lot of different opinions on how much insurance one might have to hold in retirement, the types of insurance that must consider during the retirement years, and whether or not to insure with an insurance company or self-insure. In fact, before we talk about insurance planning around your retirement, I want to take a look at the different types of insurance one might have to consider paying for. There's car, home, boat, golf cart, health, life, disability, nursing home, 401ks, the risk of living too long, that is running out of money, and finally, the risk of insuring stuff that really doesn't amount to much, like your big screen TV and cell phone. So to help us understand how insurance companies view risks and how they make money on our money, plus how in the world are they able to cover all of these risks that we cannot afford to cover ourselves, I'm honored to have via phone today a great friend of mine and contemporary in the field of finance. He's actually an actuary. We'll explain what an actuary does. A gentleman by the name of Mr. Mark Evans. Well, good morning, Mark. I appreciate you joining us. How are you doing this morning down there? It sounds like you're in the sunny state of Florida.
That's right, Tony.
Well, good. Well, first of all, Mark, just tell us what an actuary does, if you would, please.
Tony, an actuary is a mathematician that works for an insurance company or a pension plan or an insurance-related business of some sort. An actuary does statistical studies, like studying mortality, for example, uses the information from those statistical studies to figure out prices for insurance products, what reserves to set, and an actuary also concerns themselves with risk management to make sure that the risk of the insurance company are properly balanced.
Yeah, and I guess that's the thing. I know a little bit about actuarial science, nothing compared to you. So let's take an annuity. That's kind of the topic of our discussion today, Mark. How do they go about pricing an annuity in terms of, let's say I give them $100,000 and they're going to guarantee me some income? What are some of the things you as an actuary look at to make sure, number one, what they can afford to pay me, and number two, they don't go out of business trying to do it?
Exactly, Tony. So the way that works for an annuity is the key driver there for the insurance company is how much investment income the insurer can earn. Then from that investment income, you make various deductions, commissions, expenses, taxes. You also need to set up provisions for reserves and surplus, and finally, a little bit of a profit margin. Then what's ever left from that, after deducting all those items from the investment income, that's what's used to enable the insurance company to pay interest on the annuity.
And I guess as we think about today, as we record this show right at the brand new year of 2021, I mean, interest rates are so low. Tell the audience a little bit about how insurance companies invest their money and why they're not earning a lot of yield and why they have to keep this money safe.
So one thing that the insurance company is able to do is they are able to invest in bulk, and that allows them to earn a little extra interest income. For various reasons, those investments can't be particularly risky. So they're not as safe as, say, U.S. Treasuries, but they tend to invest in fairly safe instruments. Highly rated corporate bonds, for example.
Yeah, so that's a good point. I've represented insurance companies for many of them for 36 years. In general, they're very safe, but what types of measures do they take, and how can the consumer be fairly confident that these insurance companies are fairly safe vehicles to invest in terms of their products?
Well, there's three key components to think of there. First of all, the state insurance departments require insurance companies to hold reserves, to set money aside to specifically allow them to meet their future obligations to the policyholders. On top of that, they're required to hold a certain amount of surplus. And then lastly, these days, most of your insurance companies have got pretty strict risk management discipline when they're constantly analyzing risk out in the marketplace and how those risks can impact the insurance company and what they need to do to protect themselves from those risks.
That's very interesting. And Mark, coming from somebody like you that's been in this business a long time and understands the inner workings of insurance companies, valuable information, and we appreciate your time so much, and have a good time down there in Florida.
Okay, thanks, Tony.
Thinking about that interview with Mark Evans, an actuary who has boatloads of experience in the inner workings of insurance companies, the solvency, the statutory accounting requirements, all those things that are very, very complicated, but we're glad the insurance companies have somebody doing that because we want the safety and security that they offer. Now, it is interesting. I've represented many, many insurance companies over the past 36 years, and believe it or not, I've actually had 3 different insurance companies go into what the insurance departments call receivership. Now, that doesn't mean they go bankrupt or belly up, but that's why I like the insurance departments regulating the insurance companies and why they have such strict accounting rules. Nobody, in my view, has such strict accounting rules but insurance companies. So those 3 companies, for instance, once those reserves, Mr. Evans talked about reserves, got below a certain point, wasn't that the company was going bankrupt, it's just that the insurance department stepped in and stopped any business from being conducted for a period of 1 to 2 years until those reserves could be built back up, which in all 3 cases they were. And in those 3 particular cases, none of our clients lost any money. So again, folks, if you want to learn more about annuities, insurance, we have 2 great downloads. One of them is called Annuities Made Easy, of course, and then the other one is Insurance Made Easy. Both of these downloads will help you understand a lot more about insurance companies and the products they provide saver clients. So check them out at TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Well, in the time we have remaining, we got to cover a Live Well, Die Broke moment, and it comes from Debbie right here in Louisville, and this is a great one. Debbie is a client, actually, and her husband wanted to build a detached garage with an above ground kind of a bedroom suite. I'm not sure. I think maybe Debbie's wanting to throw Daryl in there once this thing is done. I'm not sure. But anyway, this is really cool. Now, I would say this, Debbie, there is a lot of wood piled up over there considering the size of this project. So might want to check how much you spent on that actual wood supply. Now, that's going to look great. But folks, we love these types of things. So if you have a live well, die broke moment, if you're out there trying to use and enjoy this money before it's too late, please send us your photo and just send it to Gina at TonyWalkerFinancial.com, Gina at TonyWalkerFinancial.com, and get a chance for a free drawing we have every month for a $100 gift card. We appreciate you sending that in. Well, I'm Tony Walker. I'll be right back. You stay tuned. For the past 36 years, I've made it my life's mission to help savers better manage their 401k plans with our split IRA concept. This concept, which utilizes investments through Charles Schwab on the front end and mailbox money on the back end, allows our savers to confidently use and enjoy their money without the fear of running out. To see if you're eligible to turn your 401k into the split IRA concept, visit us at TonyWalkerFinancial.com or call the toll-free number on your screen. Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement, and with us in the Worry-Free Retirement Production Studios is my very favorite son-in-law, Mr. Trey Juergens. Good afternoon, Trey.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
And as always, I kind of roped you into this. I was working on the particular script, and I got to a point in there, and I thought, well, this would be a great place for Trey, not only to kind of update the audience and the viewing audience on where you are personally at Tony Walker Financial, but also we're going to share some of your expertise in just a second with a question I got. So let's kind of start off with just how's it been going? Coming up on 4 years now, and kind of what you've learned from the retirement planning aspects and what we do in terms of risk management.
Yeah, after coming up on 4 years this spring, I've been able to meet with more and more current clients and prospective clients. And one of the biggest things in seeing with insurance products, both life insurance, even all the way to Medicare supplement insurance, a lot of our clients are really just trying to mitigate risk. And the more and more you think about the stock market and 401ks and taking the risk to get there, what got you there might not keep you there. So when they get to us, it's kind of getting a feel for their personality and their risk tolerance and then helping mitigate that risk.
I think what you've seen with our clients especially, we work with savers, and I guess it seems like sometimes we'll see some of these folks come into us and their advisors are still encouraging them to be out of the market and taking risk. Just speak to that a little bit and how we go through our process and how people feel like, okay, I've got a game plan. I'm now seeing I don't have to take all this risk, and just what they feel like once they go through the process with us.
Yeah, when we see clients come in with statements, whether it's a 401k or IRA with a previous advisor, and we look at the balance of how many equities they still have in their portfolio in their 60s, sometimes 70 years old, they're in that preservation stage where they want to start using and enjoying that money. And if you're using and enjoying that money and the market goes down, it's going to make a big impact if you have 50, 60% of your money in stocks.
Yeah. And then, of course, what I started you out on was in the insurance world, which is where I cut my teeth in 1984. Kind of ironic, my father-in-law brought me in the business, said you're going to have to learn insurance because that's the foundation of risk management. That's where I kind of took you. So I thought it would be good. I think you've seen this, Tony in the Trenches, but right now, Derek, let's throw that up. This is a great question. It says, Tony, I'm 58 years of age and have something called a universal life policy. The death benefit is $200,000. Now, here's the kicker. I've been paying on it for 20 years. Back when I purchased it, I know you've seen this happen, the agent showed me that by the 20th year, I'd have all of the premiums back in the way of cash values, but instead, it's actually half of that amount. What happened to all the cash value as I was promised? Thoughts?
The key word here is the agent showed me, which that agent back 20, 30 years ago probably assumed double-digit returns. And since the interest rates weren't doing that, over time, it's more like 2.5%, 3%. He showed you something that probably showed that the cash value was going to be that high, but in reality, it's nowhere near there.
So help our viewers, we do a lot of retirement planning, obviously, and we still recommend, if people can do it, to have what we call permanent insurance. And you built a nice little graphic, so let's share that with the audience, the three types of life insurance.
Sure, so they're really, if you kind of boil it down to the three types of life insurance that we deal in. There's term, there's universal life, but notice that G, that means guaranteed universal life, and then whole life. So with that, we've kind of put a list of features and benefits that these different types have. And you can obviously notice term life is pretty red here. It's not guaranteed to give you a whole lot.
It's one of the cheapest, obviously, on the front end. Yeah.
Exactly. So I'll go through. So the first feature, level premiums, are they guaranteed? Term, nope, because after 10, 20, 30 years, depending on how long that initial term is, those premiums are going to skyrocket. With guaranteed universal life, notice again, guaranteed, that gentleman, Dave from Louisville, had a universal life.
Right.
There was no guaranteed, no lapse premium on that. So when the cash value wasn't growing like that, sooner or later that cash value will go down, and if he runs out, he's going to have to pay out of pocket. So with guaranteed universal life, we can levelize those premiums. You're never going to see any surprises when your check goes to the insurance company. With whole life, your premiums are level, and later on you can even reduce those premiums if you set it up the right way, and we can show folks how to do that. Of course, with expense, a lot of people that's the first thing they want to look at when they look at insurance is how much am I going to pay? The term insurance, of course, that's the least expensive because sooner or later you're probably not going to see any death benefit.
And let's stop there a minute. We've been talking so much about risk management. One reason it is so cheap is the insurance companies know by statistics. Remember, we had an actuary on to confirm this. They're probably not going to have to pay anything, right?
Bingo.
So okay.
So with guaranteed universal, it's kind of in the middle. Whole life is really the Cadillac plan. So it's going to build a lot of cash value. It's going to have that death benefit. The death benefit can even increase, as you see. But what it's going to do, this guaranteed universal, is going to be kind of the happy median. It's going to be a permanent policy. It's going to be around when you die, but it's not going to go away, obviously.
So yeah, back to this guaranteed universal life. And I know sometimes we talk to people about large amounts of insurance, and I think when people get into retirement, I understand it. I mean, it gets expensive. But we still see people that want something they can leave tax-free. That's the beauty of life insurance, this tax-free death benefit. And also we use it to replace income that's lost. So share an example recently where someone purchased a guaranteed universal life once they realized that at the first death, they were going to lose one of their Social Securities.
That's a perfect point. What we've been seeing more so is not a lot of big term policies, not a lot of huge whole life policies with adding a bunch of cash value. It's really kind of a sweet spot heading into retirement that these savers want something to replace a lost Social Security, lost pension income, something where it's a tax-free check of $100,000, maybe $200,000 that'll drop into retirement planning. That's a lot of tax-free money, and it's allowing them to sleep easier at night because they're not going to have to worry about missing Social Security or a loss of a pension check each month.
That's great. Well, and I know Wes, who's recently started with us, my favorite nephew, he's kind of taken over your role and you're teaching him, so we really appreciate it. And I know us savers out there really appreciate what you're doing in terms of providing all this life insurance expertise. So thank you, Trey.
Yeah, thank you.
Folks, we'll be right back. Who can you trust? It's one of the most important decisions you'll have to make. Question is, are you ready? Well, we're here to help at Tony Walker Financial. You know, we care more about you than we do your money, and we have over 2,000 happy clients and an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau to prove it. Rolling over a 401k, confused about Social Security, maybe you're afraid of running out of money. Learn how to use and enjoy and protect your hard-earned money. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and let's get started. Years ago, I had the honor and good pleasure of leading a men's Bible study class at a local church I attended. Taught there for about 7 years. All of the men were my senior, and one of them, who went by the name of Julian, struck me as one of the most interesting of the bunch. Not to say that him being the oldest in the group and the person with the worst hearing had anything to do with him sitting next to me each Sunday morning, but to say the least, I got close to the old bird. Julian would lean over towards me as I spoke and listen intently to my ramblings and opinions of what I discovered in the Bible. Usually never saying anything until the very end of class, when I made it my routine to go around the room and ask each person sitting in a circle around me to share any thoughts they had about the day's lesson. When it finally came around to Julian's turn every Sunday, week in and week out, as the last person to speak up, He would always make a very brief comment and conclude with the following admonition: hope for the best. I always thought that was funny. But as I grow a little older and hopefully a little wiser, I can relate to what Julian meant by that. I think what Julian was saying, that as much as we think we know what will happen, we really don't. Such wisdom helps me understand why one of the greatest theologians of all time, Charles Spurgeon, said this of his life experiences and the things that influenced his views and teaching of the Bible when he mused, "I'm not here to convert others to my opinions, but here to simply share my observations about them."
Heavy.
You know, my take on Julian's comments, as well as Mr. Spurgeon's, is this: as much as we'd like to think we're in control and ensure that all will be well for us in the future, in the end, there's really no guarantees except this one, found in 2 Corinthians 1:21 and 22, that says, God has given us a pledge, a promise, that what He says will happen, will happen. And best of all, it's guaranteed. That's it. We can hope in Christ for the best. Amen to that one? Well, how about you and your money, and how secure that money is in your retirement? Well, my guess is if you're working with a money manager or a wealth manager, there is a very good possibility that there are no guarantees whatsoever. And if that's you, and assuming you are a saver and want to use and enjoy this money without the fear of running out of it, we need to talk. My name is Tony Walker. I am the owner of Tony Walker Financial, and we are here to serve savers and help them worry less about money. So if you have a 401k, an IRA with a money manager or a wealth manager that's not really showing you the attention you need, or feeling like things are at risk, maybe you've just received an inheritance and not sure what to do with the money. Maybe it's you that's got money languishing in the bank, earning next to nothing in interest. Regardless of your situation, we need to talk. It's easy to do, and it's absolutely free. So the first thing you need to do is log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. And once there, simply click on that Let's Get Started button. Oh, and by the way, we have a brand new service for those who just want to kind of kick the tires and see what Tony Walker Financial is all about and how we might help. It's called the free 10-minute fiduciary phone call. So when you log onto the internet, you'll see that little box. Just click on that box and we will respond and set up a time so that we can talk more about your situation to see if we might be a fit and can help you be more worry-free. Log on now, TonyWalkerFinancial.com, or call the toll-free number on your screen. Well, next week is part 2 of Insurance Made Easy. And what we're going to do, many people out there peddling annuities are telling you you can get guaranteed returns of 6, 7, 8%. And while that's partly true, that's actually a half-truth, and one that you're going to want to learn about next week on the Worry-Free Retirement. But between now and then, if all else fails, you remember to be worry-free. Make it a good one.